Hey guys, this is your week overview. Now, as we get started, just want you to know you should be reviewing chapters 4, 5, and 6. I believe that's 6, 7, and 8 if you are looking over the 6th edition of your book. We talked about that last week, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You do have a discussion post. Want you to know the thing that came up last week, we had a major department project that came up here, so I am behind schedule. Apologize for any delay on my part, but I'm working to try and catch up. Just bear with me. Hopefully by the end of this week I will be all back in line with this class. So this week what I wanted to do was talk to you guys very briefly about your paper. In particular, I wanted to talk to you guys about actually searching and vetting some ideas for your paper. Now, what I need you to understand is this. You should be thinking about major theories that are being discussed in in the book. Now, I would suggest maybe you go back to the material we were covering in the last unit and think about post-positivistic media theory, cultural media theory, critical media theory. You think about those different types of media theories. Think about what it is in particular that appeals to you. For example, think about the epistemology that appeals to you. Think about the axiomology that appeals to you. Basically, think about all those factors that we discussed in Unit 1 that that basically appeals to your particular worldview and way of thinking. Okay? Figure that out first, and then think about how you want to approach questions you might have about the media. Now, there's several different things that you can consider. I'm going to try and be as broad and general as I can here. So, some things you may consider. First off, you may consider media impact. So, in other words, how the media impacts society, individuals, etc. You may discuss media from a descriptive point of view. How is the media doing something? What is the media doing? For example, you may try and do something like, say, content analysis to basically describe what is occurring within the media from a critical perspective. That's completely possible. You may shift gears and talk about it from a perceptional or a perception perspective. How do people perceive the media? Not necessarily impact, but perception. There's a variety of different ways that you can approach this topic, but these are all questions that you should ask yourself when thinking about how you're going to, I don't know, pick your area that you want to research. So these are all things that you may want to go ahead and poke around, think about, start spinning or start turning around in your mind very early on. Now, we get to the next step. Once you have a general topic, for example, one of your classmates emailed me earlier this week and actually talked about and said, I would like to do a study on, let's see, violence in the media or violence in video games, and does it make people more violent? Well, beyond the fact that this has already been studied tremendously in a variety of different ways, which is something you don't necessarily, or you don't want to re-till already plowed ground. You really need to identify gaps in the research where you can contribute, okay? This begins with what we call the literature review. The literature review is not just to say, here's what's been going on so far, but to find out what do all people already pretty much accept as fact? Now, if you're going to posit something new, for example, if you were going to say categorically, I don't think that the media contributes in any way, shape, or form to people being more violent. Okay, here's a mountain of research that says it may not make someone who is inherently peaceful violent, but here is a mountain of research that all points to basically priming people who are already or who already have violent tendencies to become more violent. Well, you've got some ground to make up, and you better think about really how to approach that very carefully. You may also look at it and go, okay, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't given this enough thought. And then find some more gaps that you can fill in, okay? So think about that as you think about what study to choose. You're going to go in, you're going to start finding things. So for example, if we're talking about violence in the media, what I would do is go on to Steene Library's website and just start searching, violence in the media, or violence and media, or violence and TV, violence and video games, violence and whatever it is in particular that you're interested in, because just violence and the media is a very broad category. So whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever it is that you're particularly interested in, try and figure out the most specific terms that you can come up with that deals with your topic, and then kind of distill it down to that and search those things. Okay? So once you start searching that, what I would suggest is that you basically look for the most recent articles on that topic. And as you start reading those articles, look for common themes or common articles that these refer to. For example, and I'll show you this in a bit, I'm doing a research project on personality projection in video games. And when I started researching into this, when I started looking into this, I found the most common theoretical framework is identity construction theory. This is an overarching theory. Now, the most common article that I found that works with this was from a guy named Cohen in 2001. Literally article after article after article after article after article referred back to this one major article. That was the seminal work. That is where I start. I read Cohen's and see who he refers to, and then I make references there. But I make sure that I can kind of figure out where the beginning of this theory is, and then I trace the history in my literature review, and then I see kind of everything coalesces here, and then it breaks off into these various areas. This is how you do this type of work, okay? Now, once you've done this, then you can start seeing where there's gaps. Currently, after you've done this current search, where are there holes? Where are there places where researchers have said it would be helpful for future research to be done here, there, it would be interesting if we tweaked this study a little bit in the future. All of this is in every single article. It's called Future Research. It's all suggestions on where to go next. These are perfect places for you to find out where to contribute. So it's a great place to go and find where to go next. Once you've found that, there's where you come in and start thinking about how to set up your study, okay? Now, there's a couple of factors here that I'd like you to think about before just going out and saying, here's my wonderful idea. First off, you've only got a few months to take care of this. Now, it can be done. It absolutely can be done. You're only writing 10 to 12 pages on this, so it's a short research project. But you have to conduct it, which means if you're trying to do a survey, surveys take forever to get out and get back. It's hard to do. If you're trying to do something like content analysis, it can be done, but it does take time to count up occurrences in the media. Study with human subjects, well, you've got to run through IRB, which is usually pretty quick, and you've got to conduct your study. You just have to prioritize and make sure you can get everything done you need to get done. So think about that whenever you think about your study. Okay, once you've done all this, then you're set to start writing. It's just that easy. I mean, those are the steps. Now that I've said this, I want to show you guys some things that you need to know. Okay, so let me see if I can switch some of this. Okay, what you see on my screen right here is SFA's website. Now, if you've never been here, I would suggest you go to it. It's sfasu.edu. Under the Students tab, Students, you would scroll down, Academic Resources, and find Library. Library. Under Library, this is where you would actually search. You would actually go in and type in terms to find things that you need to find. Now, what I've got here are some ways that I usually research. Okay, so this is the article that I'm working on right now. You can see that I've already done some changes and some edits myself. Currently, I'm through the methodology section and I'm testing right now. So the project is not completely done. I'm already building my references. They're not in alphabetical order yet. But I also build this outline page. The outline page basically allows me to start thinking about my study. So I build in questions and hypotheses. So players prefer avatars that align with their personality traits was a hypothesis. I've reworked that since then into research questions. I've identified a null hypothesis, which is basically how you set up a research project. So if my hypothesis is players prefer avatars with alignment with or that align with their personality trait, the null hypothesis is that there will be no significant trend in how avatars align with their creators. So I have to anticipate basically what I will find if I don't find anything at all. Okay, and that is what it is. If I find anything that they either align or that they're exact opposite, that is something that is worth describing in my hypothesis. Null hypothesis says there will be absolutely no significant trend. Okay, and then I usually label out some theories that kind of contribute to why I set up my hypothesis or research question the way I did. Okay? Then in references, what I generally do is as I find articles, I will go ahead and write the reference, go ahead and do the citation, and then pull out quotes, even paraphrase certain things, and just save these little pieces of these articles. For example, Papal L 2004, Beyond Identification. These are just terms that I wanted to use, definitions, other articles that were cited, paraphrases with references to other articles, questions I ask myself, questions how a player's own personality relates to that of an avatar. So basically I just make my notes here through this article and then I save that. This way all my notes are basically in one place as opposed to having to go through each and every article when I get ready to write my paper. It's really helpful for me. I'm not saying it's helpful for everyone, but it may be something that you might want to give a shot to. Alright, let's talk very briefly about how to actually find something here. So, if I wanted to find just identification and video games, what I could do is go to Steam Library's website and just type identification and search. Now, I get books and I get articles. In this case, I want to find articles. So I usually go to More Options, and then I'll look over here on the right side and find journal articles. Okay? Not magazines, not newsletters, maybe dissertations occasionally, but journal articles. And I'll usually even limit it to articles from scholarly journals, including peer-reviewed. Okay? And I like to go back and say, let's give it a shot from, I don't know, 2004 to today. So I like to keep it current. Okay? So basically, this is all fairly current literature on identification. It's a good place to start, and you can see this was published in 2010, in 2010, 2014, so forth and so on. Now, this is all well and good, but it doesn't quite narrow it down. Now, if I wanted to go into identification and video games, identification and video games, and search. Video game addiction, identification. Identification matters. Character identification, video games. Here we go. If I wanted to actually add something in, I would put a search term and then the word and or but or up there. And, but, or in capital letters, and it will search those terms. And then I can go through journal articles, limit, and let's just say from 2010 to today. Find the most current. There we go. Video game addiction, 2013, 2010, and there you go. Very easily finding a lot of material to start with about my topic. Now again, you have to be very specific about what the terminology is. So I would suggest that you kind of find one article that works for you, make sure you're using the right terminology, and then you can very quickly go through and search the material. Okay? There are people in the library who are available to help you, so I would say feel free to call them, get in touch with them. They are happy to help you find material, but most of this can be done by you guys without much problem at all. So this is how you would find articles. That's the process for starting at least your very own research project. And if you have any more questions or you'd like any more guidance, I am always available to you. I would love to talk research with you. So by all means, come talk to me, give me a call, Skype with me, and yeah, hope this helps, guys. I will keep in touch with you guys, and again, I hope to be caught back up by the end of the week. Sorry for the delay. Have a good week, and I will talk to you soon.